everyone. Virtual greetings from Munich. I hope you're enjoying this edition of the Nordics People Analytics Summit 2020 and enjoying the conference so far. I'm David Shontz. I'm currently with Nokia, and I'm heading up a couple of global organizations, one involved with organization management that's managing all of the mass reorganizations month on month, which we seem to love. And the other is the workforce analytics organization, which will largely be the focus of this presentation. Let me just tell you a little bit more about myself. I am American. I'm in Munich since about 12 years. I came into this role about 3 years ago from an HR business partner role in a variety of business functions and supporting groups. And prior to that, a number of HR consulting roles in the US and Japan. But enough about me. So let's get to the fun stuff, the exciting use of data and analytics in HR and in business use. So quickly, just going through the agenda, I thought I'd give an overview about our start into HR analytics, which wasn't very long ago. And then quickly evolved and is continuing to evolve rapidly. So I talk about our capability evolution, which indeed prepared us for the current use case on the minds of many people, which is the COVID pandemic support, and then kind of what's next in that phase and in that arena. Let me first give you an overview of Nokia. Usually when I'm at a live conference, I ask the audience how many know that we do not make cell phones? And I'm still surprised there's a third or a half that raise their hands. So the cell phone brand of Nokia is carrying the brand, but actually since 2008, we have not been in the cell phone manufacturing business or making business. We're totally an infrastructure business. So providing all of the networks, including the evolution into 5G that all of network providers are riding on. We're about 95,000 employees across the globe, 120 countries, almost 300 sites. And you see some of the statistics on the left in terms of sales and revenue from the company at the end of 2019. A bit about the future priorities for Nokia. As you see here, there are three main focus areas that have been in our strategy for the last couple of years: people analytics, digital assistance, and robotic process automation. People analytics certainly is one of the core functions that we're evolving and looking at the value proposition of for the company, and that's the topic we will focus on most here, and one that I'm most passionate about. So let's get into a little bit about the phases of our journey at Nokia. And when I mentioned that our start was fairly recent, it was really in 2018 only. The main reason for that was in 2016 and 17, we acquired Alcatel-Lucent, and this added about 50,000 employees to us, almost doubled our size. And it was a very complex integration from a systems perspective, from a data perspective, from all sorts of HR integration perspectives, which totally consumed the community during that period. And during that time, we really had little time to focus on anything else but full integration. And actually, the team moved kind of at light speed from a systems integration perspective. In about a year and a half, we compiled all of the systems into one core system. So at the end of 2017, we had at least a unified data source and core data, and some of the supplemental systems that we were using were all unified. And at that point, we started really looking at getting more value from our data and smart reporting and data visualization in 2018. And moved 2019 really into evolution of our analytics teams and expanding the analytics use cases and propagating a lot of the value of analytics in HR and to the business. And in 2020, we really accelerated our data automation and advanced analytics activities. And this really related to the analytics platform that we're building. as well as an advanced analytics capability. So just to frame it a bit, the first half of 2018, we were still, again, just had gotten a unified data source after a lot of work. And we're in a pretty traditional, what I would call traditional reporting, HR reporting model, where the HR reporting group, the global team, was delivering a lot of reports and a lot of versions to a lot of different users, both in HR and business users, and this may sound familiar. But it was largely a push, and there was some self-reporting going on. But the team in HR operations was delivering all of these for multiple use cases. So our focus at that point was really on consolidating the data sources again and improving the data quality after the integration. And while that was getting situated and getting really up to speed, we just had the simple question: how do we start getting more value from our data? And begin investigating visualization options and tools. And a lot of companies had already been down this path or starting to go down this path and thought this was a very good way to get traction and attention on the value of the data in new, improved ways with visualization. As we were in that journey, we realized that in Nokia, we are a big data company for a living. That's what we do. All of the network traffic, all of the data activity that goes on and in networks. Many users were already using Power BI, Microsoft Power BI, and we started really turning around every corner to find all this usage, and then found that the company was already looking to go to that as a visualization layer. So we, of course, chose that as our standard corporate platform for the HR use community as well. In 2018, once we really made that decision, we brought in expertise in data science and visualization tools, largely in Microsoft Power BI. We kind of needed this extra horsepower to move us forward in this journey, and by doing so, moved us very rapidly. So the second half of 18, we started really converting all of our reporting activities, and those were Excel files and scorecards, somewhat drill downable, 50-page PowerPoint decks, plus for the HR leadership team, and began the journey into dynamic reporting, drillable segmentation, slicing and dicing, and all the different dimensions. Ours are separated now in all of our metrics by those 3 points in time you see here, or dimensions you see here: point in time, organization, and location. So for us, this was a huge leap forward. The HR leadership team, the HR business partners, and business users that became exposed to this were sort of overwhelmed from what they had in the past. So for us, this was a big eye opener and whetting of the appetite for analytics in HR for us in Nokia. In 2019, there was a lot of activity going on in the analytics front and with Power BI usage. And we began finding that there were fragmented teams that were really starting to explore in silos and starting to move on their own outside of a more central framework. And what we did is really focus on an operating model. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this because it's still a journey for us, as well as probably a lot of you as well. So we really focused on strengthening the alignment and role clarification between a couple main teams that were starting to really get into the analytics space. One is the HR Workforce Analytics organization, which is part of HR Operations, which is the team I'm leading. Another was the COE, our Centers of Excellence Analytics. This is all of your centers of excellence in HR functional organizations, talent acquisition, talent management, compensation, benefits, organization development, leadership development, etc. And then also we have a separate organization that's very large, our learning and development organization, which has their own platforms and using a lot of data and analytics for their use on training usage, starting to get into tailored offerings, sort of in the Netflix recommendation model, a lot of confidence management, analytics, etc. So the main focus here really was tying these teams together to prevent a unified front, and we have aligned in a forum with our stakeholders as well as a forum for our analytics creators to make this a more single face to the stakeholders, but making sure we stay aligned and are adding maximum value between these groups. Workforce analytics team, we're looking globally across domains. A lot of the main KPIs and metrics that the HR organization looks like that are tied to the business. We're getting into a lot of workforce planning and design, workforce-wide, and a team for advanced analytic projects. The COE analytics team really are focused on enhancing the function, improving the performance, improving the efficiency and utility of their programs. Are they working? Do they make a difference? And really focused on driving the value proposition of the people programs that we have. And learning and development, as I mentioned, focused really on analyzing all of the learning and training activity going on with the workforce. So with that, we also were building the HR analytics platform during this period. And this is another big step forward for us, where we're unifying a lot of data sources, core data, COE-specific data systems I'll talk about a little bit, for recruitment and for surveys and for succession planning, compensation, all separate systems. But those are all getting tied together now, and was the big focus for us moving at the end of 2019 until this happened. So, as many of you probably experienced around the March timeframe, the world seemed to change in priority, at least for the working world and for many, many companies across the globe and populations and workers. The virus became a pandemic, the full attention of everybody was on this. And some of you can probably relate or maybe feel this picture. We sure did. That you had tons of questions start coming from the leaders and employees, and the reporting and analytics team getting overwhelmed with the overflow of all of these questions that were coming to try and provide some insights, provide some answers to what was going on. Questions, from the leaders on what is going on with the virus in relation to our workforce. What is going on with our sites, or should be happening with our sites? Where are all of our travelers? Where are they going? Where are they coming from? What is the feeling of our employees? How are they reacting? How are they coping? All these questions started coming in, and our capability in-house that we had built really enabled us to quickly try and provide some insights and valuable perspectives to the leadership and employees on these questions. So, as mentioned, the use of analytics to quickly support company needs. This was a rapid evolution for us. The workforce analytics team, we had all of our dashboards and all of our metrics and views of the workforce already in place. But once we found out that the virus information was public in Johns Hopkins or in Worldometer or whatever, and we could access this and even integrate this, automate this into our workforce dashboards, this became a very important view for the leadership. And we presented this to our health, safety, and security organization, and they were quite frankly thrilled because they didn't know we had this. So we started partnering with them. They had all of the site details interlocked with real estate, as well as Nokia cases and the response levels and a lot of things that were also equally important to view on what was happening. Then we brought in the travel team to start answering some of the questions about the travelers, and had to hunt for this data actually on who was working with this, who was doing already data and analytics on travel and working with our travel suppliers. So we started partnering with them. Quite messy data, but anyway, started integrating with them on what they were providing. We linked with our personnel services team from benefits, and this is what is happening with the utility of all of our personnel services, our employee advocacy services, our support services that we offer, through multiple channels worldwide. And then, of course, the survey team. So we started doing pulse surveys very quickly, bi-weekly, to about a third of the population, about 30,000 people per round, on how they're coping, how their team is coping, how are they feeling from a work disruption standpoint, and a lot of other elements on sentiment. So we brought them in, and this diagram may look a bit familiar, but for me it's on purpose because it was quite an Olympic effort, I thought, in a very short amount of time. So we were all working virtually at that point. We started meeting daily with these teams and evolving the views and trying to best represent the insights to the questions and the knowledge that was needed to help navigate, through the change and what was really happening. So these are updated daily. They still are. Keeping in mind, we started this in mid-March, and the main dashboards were completed in about 3 weeks and have been up and running to great accolade ever since. Some with some embellished views, of course, since the start. Just to give you an idea of what these look like, we do have the in-house analytics team. So we are an in-house shop on Microsoft Power BI. And we also have the benefit of having an in-house survey science group that's using Qualtrics, so we could easily start trying to pull together as much data as we could. And here you just see a representation initially. You can see it's old from the number of cases, but for illustration, this gave a view of the virus, new cases, active cases, and the Nokia head count at all of the locations. You can drill down to the city level or even the site level. You can take a look at various regions. You can take a look at types of employees, and also had risk indicators on age and percents of the population that were over 50 to give an idea. So if I clicked on Italy, it would clearly give me an indication of the metrics changing, the risk profiles there, and can see that on a segmented level. Talked about location and sites connecting with health security and the Health Security Organization. So we started combining in their site data. So we looked at where all of the sites were and what the status was. Were they fully closed? Were they fully open? Were they mandatory work from home? Were they recommended work from home? Also the age risk indicator of all of these. And again, you can segment and slice, for those of you who are familiar, by all of the attributes. We have filters or the types of, just look at sites that are closed and the volumes of people that are there, the risk profiles that are there down to the site level. And response levels are an internal sort of activity matrix that if you're at response level 1, these activities need to happen at the site, up to level 5, and then it becomes more and more strict on what is happening at the site. These are also available to all employees to go in and view without the age and some other things, but they can easily access this so they know too. In our COVID hub, travel status was a big concern. We often have, we had hundreds of travelers. The numbers here are modified just for illustration, but we could see where everybody's going, where they're going to, where they're going from, their status, the type of travel they're doing. Again, segmented, which was very, very helpful. This, of course, over time went down dramatically. But then again, you had travel restrictions, border closures, federal restrictions, as well as Nokia imposed travel restrictions. And this was really important to know for employees as well as leaders to know where we can and cannot travel, and matching these two together for some unique insights there. Employee sentiment and well-being. This is, obviously a concern for most companies, with safety of the employees being paramount. So the pulse survey is looking again at level of coping with teams and individual coping and work disruption and how they're feeling about support from the company and how they're feeling about the COVID hub, the information hub for all employees and disruption. Word texting on the most common themes that are coming out, and these were you see that there are various rounds, and those have continued to go on, and then you can segment that by the business groups and by region on the various elements of coping there, as well as the personnel support services. Are they increasing in certain areas? Are they decreasing? Is it related to site closures? Is it related to virus severity? Do we need more support in certain areas? Is the data telling us that? So a lot of this was super valuable for that sort of angle and view for the leadership team and for those that are really responsible to try and respond in a focused way to make sure the employees are what are they feeling and are they coping okay? Then it was combining in talent analytics. So we started looking at, they came to us as well and said, look, we need some of this information. It would be very helpful to tie into our talent acquisition planning. We're still doing and have been doing lots of hiring across the globe. And of course, sites are restricted, they're closed, or they're open, or there are travel restrictions. So you just look at the committed hires 3 or 4 months out, where they are committed hiring, and see what this means. Do we need to virtually onboard? Can we just bring them in normally? And a lot of other associated planning and decisions were made based on this data. And then again, new ways of looking at analytics to support. So there was a request really about site decisions, and if we have to have one site open, which one would it be for these that are in close proximity to each other? So this is a site map of Germany, for example, with all of our sites in Germany, and you can select any of the sites in here. They're masked out, but who's within 10 kilometers up to 50 plus, and what this did was give a real view of the home location versus the working location. That the data might indicate, just looking at the data, that you think everybody is fairly close to the site. But as you see here, it's not the case. There are a lot of people attached to the site of Munich that are really quite far away from Munich, but they're attached, and you can start now making some assumptions that they are already home working. So this is giving a new site to the workforce that we didn't really have before or couldn't really see very, very easily. And this is becoming more and more important for us as we plan for the future of work. So we're doing this globally, the proximity analysis, to really take a look at the segments of the population we believe are pretty much remote working anyway, regardless of what their contract data may say or not. It's not very complete. And also melding this in with the roles of those various populations in these commuting bands and matching that with those that we feel need to be on site versus those that can be remote, and seeing if this matches up. So that's what we're going through now on planning, as well as capacity planning. The real estate is a big topic right now, and how much will be remote working into the future. So with that, the circles expand, right? So it's really kind of, what's next? We're looking now at collaboration analytics in Office 365, the usage, the interactions. Is it, again, a lot of surveying going on, and we will really start trying to pull in as much sentiment on feelings of getting ready to go back to work. And there's really several populations that are coming that we'll start analyzing the data on, and perhaps change policies or make some adaptations. So you have those that absolutely would like to stay working from home on a more permanent basis, those that could go either way, and those that absolutely would like to return because their home working environment is not conducive as they would like it. So lots of things coming in the pipe. As mentioned, we're getting lots of more integrated data sources to start looking at what the impact of a lot of the remote working is learning. Are the learning activities increasing or decreasing, stable? just, sort of the behavior of the organization we'll really start getting into as we plan for the future of work. And I'll leave you with this quote that I've really aspired to for a long time since my days at GE. So if the rate of change on the outside exceeds the rate of change on the inside, the end is near. And this change could be a technology change, it could be from a pandemic. And as we're experiencing a huge amount of change in the outside world and the ways of work and the market intelligence and what's happening there, if you're not looking at that and looking at what's happening inside your company to sort of adapt to that, the end may be near. But I can tell you that analytics and data can certainly help bridge that view from what's happening in the outside world to what may be needed inside the company. And that is a clear benefit. So with that, I'll say thank you. Stay safe. Hopefully you got some inspiration or maybe some new thoughts on thinking outside of the HR data box, how analytics can really support the company in trying to navigate not only through this pandemic but into the future. And it's really, I think, going to be an interesting road forward, but we will certainly do our best to provide the best insights we can. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the conference.